Chapter 46, Master of Kisses. Chris jolts awake in a daze, wondering what the hell woke him up when he sees that he's alone in his room. Then he hears it. The doorbell rings and he winces. He came home before 1 a.m. way earlier than he planned. He was drunk, so Jason dropped him off. He was out like a light the moment his body met his bed. He checks the time and wonders who's ringing the doorbell at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. He makes his way downstairs in his hungover and groggy state, hoping the doorbell hasn't woken his mom and sister up. But unlike him, they're heavy sleepers, so he doubts that. He opens the door and the hand that was about to press the doorbell pauses midair. The person standing on his porch shocks all the grogginess out of him and makes him blink twice to be sure. "W, are you doing here?" He stares at her in surprise. Steph brings her hand to her side and says, "Hi." He looks behind her and sees Brooke's car parked by the curb in front of his house. Brooke lets the window down and yells, "Hi, Chris. Bye, Chris." Then she winks before she starts the car and she drives away. Chris returns his gaze to Stephanie and she bites her lip. "Can I come in?" she asks. Seeing as he can't avoid her right now without being rude, he sighs. "Sure, come on in." He steps aside and she walks into the house. He shuts the door and sees that she has taken off her coat. He collects it from her and hangs it on the coat rack. They proceed further into the living room and sit on separate couches. There's a pregnant pause as they both awkwardly sit in silence. Each person thinks of what to break the silence with. They both try to speak at the same time. "What can?" They both stop, waiting for the other to complete their sentence. "You go first," Chris urges with a blank expression on his face. Always the gentleman, Steph thinks as she smiles faintly. "We need to talk." If she says she isn't a little nervous, she'll be lying. She just hopes it goes well, and honestly, she didn't think this through. She just decided she needed to talk to him urgently. "It can't wait till Monday." "We are talking," is Chris' reply. Steph rolls her eyes. He always manages to make her do that every time they're together. Steph finds herself studying him in silence as a biology student would study a specimen in the laboratory. His disheveled hair and the fact that it seems he just got out of bed. "Did I wake you up?" she inquires. "Yes. You did. I'm sorry." He just woke up and yet he still manages to look good. "It's okay." "What about Emily and your mom?" Steph asks. She knows she's stalling, but she's thinking of how to go about this. "They're still asleep." Steph bites her lips and fidgets with her fingers as Chris watches her. The tension in the air is only making her even more uncomfortable. After a few seconds, she decides, it's now or never. "Christopher?" "Yes." Steph says the first thing that comes to her head. "Did you mean what you said the other day?" A few beats pass and Steph begins to dread that he won't answer, so she holds her breath. "Yes," Chris says softly, which makes Steph look at him. "I meant every word." Steph releases the breath she was holding, but she can't come up with anything to say to his answer. "Did you think I didn't mean it?" Chris questions. Steph nods. "I never joke with something like that, Hazel." Steph smiles at the nickname. She hasn't heard him say it for a while now. Now that she knows he wasn't kidding, does it change anything? Chris wonders. I don't know what to say." Steph mumbles. "You didn't also know what to say on Monday," Chris mutters to himself, but she hears. "You didn't exactly give me time to digest the information, let alone say something. You just walked away." Steph points out. Chris stays silent. "Look, Chris." Steph trails off because she doesn't exactly know what she wants to say. Should she tell him exactly how she's feeling? "I know what you're going to say." "No, you don't." "I know you don't feel the same way." "I wouldn't expect you to." Steph cuts him off. "Chris." Christopher, can you just stop talking and listen to me? Chris sighs but nods in agreement. He leans forward, propping his elbows on his knees, and rests his head on his palms. Steph stands and walks over to the couch he's seated. She sits by his left side, leaving no space. Chris raises his head to look at her and she smiles. She takes his left hand in her right one and interlaces their fingers. He tries to ignore the feeling of her hand in his. It feels so good. Their interlaced hands rest on Steph's thigh and she uses her left hand to brush the back of his palm soothingly. I won't lie to you and say I feel the same way. I won't do that. But I want you to know that you're important to me. You're very important to me. I didn't realize that until you blatantly started to avoid me. And to be honest, I don't know how I'm feeling right now. Yes, I like or used to like Luke and I was excited about our date. But yesterday on our date, all I wanted to do was leave. I just kept thinking about what you told me. She pauses, absent-mindedly still stroking the back of Chris' palm with her gaze on the coffee table. I don't know if I still feel the same way I initially felt about Luke. I feel like my feelings for him have changed and I honestly don't know if I have any romantic feelings for you. Just give me a chance, Hazel. Chris pleads. Steph takes a deep breath and closes her eyes as he takes her other hand and changes his position so that he's facing her. Steph closes her eyes and crosses her right leg on the couch so that she's completely facing him. She stares at their joined hands as she begins to speak. I want to be totally honest with you, Christopher. I don't feel the same way you feel about me, but that doesn't mean I can't. I've always seen you as a friend, but since Monday when you told me how you felt, I haven't stopped thinking about it, and even you. She finally makes eye contact. Chris doesn't know if it's a good thing that she couldn't stop thinking about him. It could be good or bad news. She could have been thinking bad things about him, weighing the pros and cons of giving him a chance. The cons are probably greater in her head, so he doesn't know if that's supposed to make him feel better. He doesn't know if he has a chance, but the good news is that she doesn't seem to like Luke anymore. I didn't think it was fair to be on a date with Luke and be thinking about you, so I lied to him and he drove me home. I don't know if we can be more than friends, Chris. I just need time. I need time to sort myself out. I need time to process things and know exactly how I'm feeling, what and who I want. Can you give me time before I have to answer your question? Chris sighs but nods slowly and Steph squeezes his hand. Thank you. Can I ask you another question? Steph nods. Do you regret kissing me? For the first time, Chris looks vulnerable to her. The question came out of his mouth with caution and trepidation. She feels like whatever answer she gives will either make him or break him. The few beats that pass after his question is unbearable for Chris. He watches her staring at their joined fingers as if the answer is written on them. When she looks up after a minute of deliberation, he stares into her hazel eyes, a beautiful shade of brown with specks of gold and green in them. Steph smiles. I don't regret it. I'm glad it happened because if it didn't, you might have never noticed me and I wouldn't have gotten to know how awesome you are. Chris has a familiar look on his face as opens his mouth to speak. But I called you a man whore, but you've changed. I'm not saying it's okay, but I understand the circumstances that led you to that. I'm sorry for giving you a hard time when we first started talking. Chris smiles. Apology accepted. And Steph drawls. Chris watches her in anticipation as she lowers her gaze, somewhat bashfully. He becomes amused when he notices her cheeks turning a slight pink. That kiss was the best kiss of my life, Steph confesses. Chris grins, very elated to hear her say that. So it wasn't just him. I'm not surprised, he says in a confident tone, messing with her. I'm the master of kisses. Steph pulls her hands out of his and pushes his chest, glaring at him. Chris laughs boisterously as he rears back, his green eyes glinting. I was just kidding. Kinda. I felt the same way about our kiss. He tells her on a more serious note. Steph purses her lips. I find that hard to believe. You've had a lot of practice. He bobs his head from left to right, agreeing with her. True, but yours is still the best of all. Why else do you think I was so keen on finding you, huh? I kept comparing other kisses with yours, and no one even came close. Steph smiles timidly. Is that supposed to make me feel special? Yes. You are special, Chris declares in a voice soft with affection. Steph groans, using both hands to cover her blushing face. Stop. You're making my head swell. It's eventually gonna explode. Chris little chuckles at her reaction turn into full-blown laughter. His head throbs a little, reminding him of the hungover state he's forgotten about. You're adorable, he coos. Stop. Stop being cheesy, Steph groans again before removing her hands from her face to see his grin as wide as the Cheshire Cat. On a more serious note, Chris listens attentively. If you avoid or ignore me in school again, you won't like what I do, Steph says in the most menacing tone she can muster. What are you gonna do? Chris inquires in amusement. If you want to know so bad, don't do as I've said. Both of them, being too focused on each other in their little world, fail to hear the sound of footsteps descending the stairs. Stephanie! Emily exclaims in excitement upon seeing her favorite babysitter. Chris and Steph snap out of their entrancement with each other before turning in the direction of the voice. Steph grins at the sight of Emily in her frozen PJs and walks to her. Hey, Emily! Steph crouches down to her height. Did you sleep well? Yes, I'm so happy you're here. Chris, who's now standing behind Steph, smiles. Kate, Chris' mum, finally speaks up. Steph! What a surprise. What are you doing here? I came to sort something out with Chris. Good morning. Steph smiles politely. Kate smiles back. She's surprised to see Steph here, but she's more excited at the position she met them in when they walked into the living room. They looked cozy and oblivious to their surrounding. It seems like her ship has sailed, or at least it's preparing to. Why hasn't she thought of ship names yet? Kate asks herself. Mom, can Steph have breakfast with us? Emily inquires, holding Steph's hand. If she wants to, Kate replies. Emily looks up at Steph expectantly and Steph turns to Chris, who raises an eyebrow. Sure. Emily jumps excitedly. Kate smiles and heads for the kitchen. Emily tugs Steph in that direction and Chris follows behind. Why didn't you come here with your friend on Monday? Emily questions innocently. Steph's eyebrows scrunch in confusion. Huh? She's talking about Brooke. She came here on Monday, Chris explains. You're kidding. Steph gives Chris an incredulous look. Nope. It's Monday and Steph and Brooke just arrived at school. Steph has already told Brooke what transpired between her and Chris on Saturday. She also didn't fail to ask Brooke why she went to Chris' house without informing her. Steph told Brooke how she has been feeling, leaving nothing out. After her revelation, Brooke said she believes Steph already likes Chris, but she still respects her decision. When Brooke asked about Luke, Steph said she will probably tell him how she feels so as not to lead him on. She doesn't want to cause him another heartbreak after what happened between him and Ivy. She has to tell him now before his feelings for her get too strong. Who knows? Maybe he'll get back with Ivy because it's obvious Ivy still wants him and she's doing everything she can to make him forgive and take her back. Ivy hasn't been causing much trouble since the breakup, but every time Steph sees her, Ivy glares daggers at her like she was the reason for their breakup, and it's annoying. That being said, the most important thing for Steph today is to talk to Luke. Do you think Chris will ignore you today? Brooke asks as they walk through the school doors, heading for their lockers. He wouldn't dare. Steph says it in a tone that makes Brooke laugh. Just as they reach Steph's locker, Chris walks into the hallway. He halts his steps at the sight of her and grins widely. He has felt better since their talk on Saturday and he feels like something has changed between them. No, she didn't say she likes him or even better proclaim her undying love for him, but he's okay with how things turned out. It went far better than he had imagined. Chris forces himself to stop grinning like he's just seen the love of his life and starts heading in their direction. But when he's close enough, instead of stopping, he walks right past them, pretending not to have seen them. His lips twitch as he sees them staring at him from his periphery. A few steps away, he halts in his steps and walks back to them. "Oh, hey. I didn't see you there." He grins, obviously lying. "You're an idiot." Brooke smiles, shaking her head. "Just wanted to mess with Hazel here." "Ha ha. Very funny," Steph says dryly. Chris chuckles, spreading his arms wide with wiggling eyebrows. Steph raises her eyebrows at him while Brooke watches in amusement. "Come give me a hug," Chris croons. "You know you want to." Steph glares at him for some seconds before giving in and walking into his arms. They hug each other and stay like that for a moment. Cole and Luke walk over and stare at them bemusedly. Cole swings his arm on Brooke's shoulder and whispers, "What's happening?" They're hugging, Brooke whispers back in a duh tone. Chris and Steph separate to see 3 pairs of curious eyes staring at them. "Hey guys." Steph speaks first. Cole and Luke reply. Then Brooke and Cole announce their departure, leaving the rest to head to class. There's a moment of awkward silence before Chris speaks up. "I'll see you at lunchtime and drive you home after school." Steph smiles. "Sure." She and Luke watch Chris walk away before Steph says, "We need to talk, Luke." Luke sighs as if he already knows what she's about to tell him. Luke knows something has changed between Steph and Chris. It's pretty obvious to anybody. He can already guess what she's going to say. "Let me guess, you and Chris are dating," Luke says in despair. Steph shakes her head. No, we're not." "What made you think that?" "Well, it's obvious something has changed between you two. I should have seen it coming." "I'm sorry, Luke. I really am. If it's any consolation, I used to like you even before you broke up with Ivy, but my feelings have changed." "I understand," Luke says sadly. "Can we still be friends?" Luke seems to deliberate for a while before nodding, just as the bell rings. "Yes. Friends." Chapter 47, Anxious. A month later. Things have happened and things have changed in the last month. Steph can vividly remember how 2 weeks into senior year, Brooke had said it was boring and she had agreed. Well, these past 2 or 3 months have been anything but boring. And senior year isn't even over. They're on winter break now and Steph can only imagine how crazy things would be when school's back on in the new year. They had winter formal after their finals and it was quite something. The thing is that both Luke and Chris asked her to go with them as friends. Chris had asked first and she agreed. Then about 2 days later, Luke did. He kept emphasizing that they'll be going as friends, and the look on his face was so pleading that she found herself saying yes, against her reasoning. It was only when Luke exhaled in relief that she realized she had already said yes to Chris, hence, finding herself in a sticky situation. She wished she could have gone with both Luke and Chris, without either of them knowing, but that doesn't work in real life. It doesn't quite work out in movies either. She knew she had to do something about it. She contemplated not going to the formal, but she knew her mother wouldn't have her do that. So one day after school, Chris drove her home and she turned him down. "I can't go to the winter formal with you, Christopher," she had informed him from the passenger seat. "What? Why? We're just going as friends." "I know." Steph cut him off before he began to ramble. He had this terrifyingly sad look on his face that made Steph feel bad. "It has nothing to do with you. You did absolutely nothing wrong," she asserted. Chris had an incredulous look on his face that showed he didn't believe her, even for a second. "And you expect me to believe that?" "Yes. Honestly, you did nothing wrong. It's just that." She paused for a second before continuing. "Well, Luke asked that we go as friends and..." Chris cut in. "Seriously? It's because of Luke? This is unbelievable." "Chris, chill. Let me finish, okay?" Chris nodded. Luke asked me after you did, but I just couldn't say no to him with the look he had on his face, Steph explained as if that was supposed to make Chris feel better. Chris laughed humorlessly and looked out the window before facing her back. So if Luke has that look on his face as he asks you to murder someone, you'd agree, huh? Chris asked, and Steph was quick to reply. Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. I know what you're thinking, and you're wrong. I don't like him like that anymore. Believe me, she says with a pleading look on her face. You're a tough guy, Chris. You'll be able to handle yourself better if I don't go with you, more than Luke would. Just understand, please. Chris sighed. Fine. Go with Luke. I'll get some other girl to go with me. Steph felt a twinge somewhere inside her when he said that. She knew she wasn't supposed to feel like that since she was the one that chose to go with Luke, but she did. Okay, that's great. She had forced herself to say that before thanking him for the ride and getting out of the car. Chris watched her enter her house before backing out of the driveway and driving home. He thought it was unfair that she chose Luke over him even though he asked first. He didn't mean to say what he did about finding some other girl to go with. He had just said it out of slight anger. He wouldn't be able to take another girl as his date. Damn, he wouldn't even be able to stand by and watch Luke dance with Steph. It would hurt too much. He'd prefer to stay back home, which prompted him to decide at that moment that he wouldn't attend the formal. He'd just stay home and spend time with his mom and Emily. He also decided not to tell anyone about his decision. Whenever Jason and Max asked, he'd dismiss the topic, same with when his mom asked. The night of the formal, he didn't go just as he had planned, though his mom tried to make him attend it. Some hours into the winter formal, which was held in their transformed gym, everyone realized that Chris wasn't coming. They had initially thought that he was a little late or trying to be fashionably late, but later they realized that he wasn't coming at all. He disappointed a lot of girls. Steph found Jason and asked him about Chris. He replied that he had no idea that Chris wasn't gonna attend. He never told anyone. Steph began to feel bad. She had a feeling that her deciding to go with Luke instead influenced Chris' absence that night. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't enjoy her night. When she told Brooke what happened, Brooke said, "Of course, it's your fault, you dummy." After Brooke reprimanded Steph, she told her to come meet her at the snack table when she was ready to leave. Steph watched her best friend walk away and sighed. Brooke hasn't been her usual self for about 2 weeks now. She even came to the formal with no date. You're wondering about Cole? Well, they broke up about 2 weeks earlier. To put it frankly, Cole was the one who called things off. And no, they didn't end things on the wrong note, they ended it as amicably as they could. Brooke had kinda seen it coming when they were assigned lab partners in their chemistry class. Cole got a cute timid girl with ginger hair as his partner while she had this guy that she still doesn't get along with. They were assigned a project and he had to spend more time with this girl. Somehow, he ended up having feelings for her and what she was afraid of happened. He explained to her when he called things off and kept saying he didn't mean for any of it to happen. That Brooke kinda saw it coming doesn't mean it hurt any less. She honestly didn't blame Cole for what happened. It's life. Fate was just doing her job. I guess he and I weren't meant to be, she had told Steph after the breakup. It's not the end of the world. It's not like I was in love with him or anything. I'm too young to fall in love. And I don't need a man to make me feel good about myself. After saying all that, she burst into tears and Steph comforted her. After about a week of sulking, Brooke went back to her everyday routine, acting like it never happened. Steph hated seeing her best friend and wished she'd never get heartbroken again. After staying for a little longer, Steph told Luke that she was tired and wanted to leave. He offered to drive her home, but she declined and explained that she was going with Brooke. She got home, had a little chat with her parents, and got ready for bed. She got settled on her bed, but instead of falling asleep, she picks up her phone and dials Chris' number. She knew there was a very high possibility that he was already asleep, but she called him anyway. Chris answered on the second ring. "Hey." Steph muttered. "Hi." Though his voice didn't sound groggy, she asked, "Did I wake up?" "Nope. I wasn't sleeping. How was the formal? Steph felt a little guilty at his question, so she sighed. Instead of answering the question, she stated softly, "You didn't come." Normal Chris would reply with a duh or tease her about pointing out the obvious, but he wasn't in the mood for that. "Yeah," he replied. "Why?" "I didn't feel like." "And you decided not to tell me?" "I didn't even tell my best friends, so don't feel too hurt about that," he responded. Steph let out a breath and hugged her pillow to herself. "I'm not hurt. I feel bad. I feel like it's my fault you weren't there, and I'm so sorry, Chris." "It wasn't your..." "Don't lie to me. It's no use. You were looking forward to it. You only changed your mind after I turned you down, right?" Steph asked with a sense of guilt. "Honestly, yes. But not entirely. Since you decided to go with Luke, I lost interest. And I realized there's no point in going, so I stayed home with my family," Chris explained. "I feel bad," Steph confessed. "Don't be. Shit happens." Silence ensued from both lines of the phone for a few seconds before Steph spoke into the phone again. "I'm walking my neighbor's dog tomorrow. Let's meet at the park." "Which one?" "The one where we spoke to each other for the first time. Bring Emily." "Okay, I'll see you then." But instead of them hanging up after making plans for the next day, they kept talking. Mumbling into the phone on each other's bed, talking about anything until eventually Steph fell asleep. When Chris realized this, he smiled, then whispered goodnight and hung up the phone. That night he fell asleep feeling happier than he had been in some days. Snow fell for the first time while they were in the park the next day, and Emily was so happy. She had held both Chris and Steph's hands and began to squeal. Chris and Steph couldn't help but share in her excitement, so they laughed. Chris had watched Steph squeal with Emily with a longing, loving look on his face. He was glad he got to see the first snowfall with the girl he likes and his sister. People say it means something. Unconsciously, he said his thoughts. There used to be a saying in Korea that if you are out in the first snowfall of the season with someone you like, true love will blossom between you. Steph froze for a second at that before commenting, "Well, that's interesting." She didn't want to read much into that fact. Was he trying to say that he loves her? Nope. That wasn't possible. Is it? How do you know that? Chris shrugged as he kept looking at the beauty of the snow falling. After spending time with Chris and Emily at the park, Steph came home to find her big brother back for winter break. She almost tackled him to the ground in the name of a hug. Though her brother had only been away for about 3 or 4 months, she felt like he was gone for a very long time. Since he came, she had been spending time with him, to make up for the months he was away. The days Brody decides to meet up with old friends, she'd either go to Brooke's house or hang out with Chris. So yeah, that's all the juicy stuff that has happened in the last month. Now, it's Monday, 22nd of December. 3 days to Christmas and everyone is excited. The last time she hung out with Chris was on Thursday and she misses him already. It has been about a month since they talked, and after much thinking, she has come to a conclusion: she likes Christopher Hayes. The very same Chris she initially wanted nothing to do with. The same Chris she called a man whore and said she could never have feelings for. She can remember how she thought she couldn't like someone like him in the next 10 years, but here she is, liking him some months later. Her subconscious is laughing at her right now. Steph is beginning to get anxious though. They haven't talked like that again. She did tell him to give her some time to think about it, but it has been a month. A month. Isn't that enough time to think and come to a decision? Isn't he supposed to have asked her about her decision by now, or at least asked her if she needs more time? Doesn't he like her anymore? Has he moved on? Has he friend-zoned her? Has he come to a sudden realization that they'd be better off as friends? If not, are guys always this patient when they ask a girl out and she says she wants to think about it? No, she doesn't think so. Those have been her train of thought for the past week. Every time they hang out, she'll be trying to find out if something is different, if he's acting differently to her now. But nothing seems odd. They got a lot closer after that talk, and that's how it has been since then. So why is she worried? Steph sighs as she stares at her reflection in the mirror. She's dressed up 'cause she's leaving the house very soon to meet up with Chris. She picks up the beanie on her bed and wears it. She stares at her reflection again and says to herself, "Stop fussing about it, Stephanie. Tomorrow is his birthday and the relationship between the two of you is going to change because you'll do something about it." After nodding and taking one last look at her appearance, Steph exits her room. She meets her dad and brother in the living room watching the TV. "Where are you going to?" Brody asks the second he sets his eyes on her. "I'm meeting up with a friend," Steph replies. Her dad chuckles but says nothing. "The same friend you've been hanging out with and have failed to mention their name?" Steph smiles. "Yeah, that same friend." "I told you, son. It might be that Luke guy," their dad comments. Brody frowns on hearing that, which only makes Steph grin. "So when do we get to meet this friend of yours?" "Very soon," Steph replies as she walks to the back of the couch they're on and ruffles Brody's hair. "I'll be home soon. Don't miss me too much." "What's your middle name?" Steph asks Chris before taking a sip from her mug of hot cocoa. They met some minutes ago and after some contemplation, decided to come to the cafe they are seated in right now. It's the same one he dragged her to after the Ivy fiasco. Luckily for Steph, the waitress who was undressing Chris with her eyes the last time isn't here. Steph has the feeling that if she was here and stared at Chris like that, she'd snap. It's a good thing she isn't. They're drinking hot cocoa and talking. Chris got himself a donut too since he loves it too much. "Why do you want to know?" "I just want to. Now, tell me," Steph demands. "It's Gregory. Christopher Gregory Hayes. It has a nice ring to it," she says with a thoughtful look on her face. "What's yours?" "Catania. Stephanie Catania Valentine. Sounds odd," Chris comments and she glares at him. Chris laughs. "I'm messing with you. They're beautiful just like the owner. So I can call you Cat?" Steph tries her best not to blush at him calling her beautiful. "Don't you dare." Chris laughs. "I'll call you Cat if I want, but I prefer Hazel. It's my nickname for you, Hazel." Steph doesn't say anything to that. "My mom is getting engaged on Christmas Day," Chris announces after a moment of silence. Steph raises her eyebrows. "Really? How do you know?" "Jason's dad told Jason that he'll propose to her on Christmas Day, and Jason told me. I'm not supposed to tell my mom though." Steph grins. "Wow. I'm so happy for her and you guys. So you and Jason are gonna become brothers?" "Yup." Chris smiles. They talk some more before heading out of the cafe for a walk to the park. When it's time to go their separate ways, Steph finds it strange that Chris didn't once mention anything about his birthday tomorrow. She had thought he was one of those people that like announcing their birthdays. She just hopes he isn't one of those people that hate their birthdays. If he is, her plan would be ruined. As they part, she hugs him tight and says, "I'll see you tomorrow, Greg." "Don't call me that," Chris yells as she hurries away, laughing. Chapter 48, Happy Birthday. Chris awakes to the sound of his phone ringing. He stirs on his bed and hopes the annoying sound stops. He sighs in relief when it does, only for him to groan when it starts again. "Oh, God," he mutters as he reaches over to get his phone from the nightstand. He stares at the screen and rolls his eyes when he sees that it's a FaceTime call from none other than Jason. He considers declining it, but knowing Jason, he would just keep calling. Jason's face appears after he answers it. He has always been the first one to wish him on his birthday among his friends. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Chris, I wish you a happy. Do you have to sing? Chris interrupts his singing. Do you have to torture me with your awful singing voice this lovely morning? Jason glares at him through the screen. You're an asshole. You think everyone can sing like you, huh? You're a jackass, dude. I can't believe we're gonna be brothers. Jason grumbles, feigning anger with so much seriousness that you'll think he means it. They stare at each other for a few seconds before bursting into laughter. Jason was just joking, and they both know it. You really have a terrible singing voice though, Chris points out. Trust me, I know. Piper doesn't fail to remind me every time I sing. But luckily for me, she's not so great either, so we just tease each other about it, Jason chuckles. You're really happy with her, Chris states. Yeah, she makes me happy. More than Haley did. I'm glad. Anyways, happy birthday, dude. Hope all your wishes come true today. Thanks. You're welcome. But have it in mind that when we eventually become brothers, I'd wake you with a bucket of cold water on your birthday. Jason informs him with a grin. Chris chuckles. I'm looking forward to it. I have a present for you. You'll get it soon. So how does it feel to be 18? After ending the call with Jason, Chris gets a call from Max too and messages from some girls he doesn't even know. He always wonders how they got his number. It might forever be a mystery to him. After dropping his phone, Chris kneels beside his bed and says a quick prayer of thanksgiving to God. He has never been that religious guy, but he believes it's only right to thank his creator for adding another year to his years on earth. He heads into his bathroom to brush his teeth after and then proceeds downstairs for breakfast. He meets his mom and Emily in the kitchen, and on sighting him, Emily immediately jumps into his arms. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, big bro, happy birthday to you, Emily sings. Chris laughs and their mom grins. Happy birthday to the best big brother in the world, Emily exclaims in excitement. Chris hugs her wholeheartedly and then ruffles her hair. Thank you to the best little sister in the world. I have a present for you, Emily announces before getting out of his arms and hurrying off to get it. Chris watches her go before looking at his mom, who is setting a plate of French toast on the kitchen island. That looks and smells delicious, Mom. It's all for you, big guy, his mom says as she sets a cup of hot cocoa with whipped cream beside the plate of deliciousness. Chris stares at his breakfast like it's the most breathtaking sight he has ever seen. Thank you so much, Mom. You're the best. She spreads her arms for a hug and he steps into her arms and hugs her. You have no idea how grateful I am to have you as my son, Christopher Gregory Hayes. Every birthday is just a reminder that you're no longer a little boy. You're growing up way too fast. Mom, I'm only 18. Chris cuts in. I know. You're no longer the little boy that always ran away in fear whenever you saw a doll or stuffed animal. Chris pulls away from his mom with a flustered look on his face. He sights Emily with a gift box in her hands, trying to stiffen her giggles, but she fails. I think you're just trying to embarrass me this morning. His mom grins. I'm not. You were really adorable and little then, but now, you're all grown up and will be heading off to college next year. And it'd just be Emily and I. She ends with a sigh. You'll have Jason's dad by your side too, Chris wants to say, but he stops himself. He stares at his mom and sees that she's getting sad and her eyes are already glossy with tears. Mom, he begins to say, but she interrupts. You need to make a wish. I know, Mom. It's my birthday. It's supposed to be a joyful day. Please don't be sad. Don't think about me leaving yet. I'm not even done with high school yet. Be happy and enjoy the time we're spending together now, Chris tells her softly. Kate nods. You're right. I don't know what's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with you, Mom. I love you so much. I love you too, my baby. Just give me a sec to get a hold of myself. Chris smiles and remembers Emily is still standing there with his present. He looks at her and she gives him a sad smile. Hey, Munchkin. What's in there? He asks. He knows she's probably thinking about him going off to college and he doesn't want her to. The thought vanishes from her head as Chris asked the question. It's your birthday present from me. She smiles as she moves closer. Can I have it now? Nope. You have to blow out your birthday candles and make a wish before I give it to you. Just in time, his mom places his cake on the island and grins. She lights the candles. You didn't have to buy one, Mom. I could have baked one myself. I wanted to. Now, make a wish and blow out the candles. Chris smiles and closes his eyes. Instead of wishing something for himself, like that Steph likes him back, he doesn't. He wishes that his mom and Emily find happiness and never get heartbroken again. Then he blows out the candles. His family cheers and he laughs. Emily hands him the gift box and he goes to open it, but she stops him. Open it later. Chris looks at her suspiciously before turning to his mom. Did you get this for her? Nope. I have no idea what's in there. She just asked me to help her wrap it without checking what's inside. His mom replies. Okay. I have a present for you too. Let me go get it, their mom announces before walking away. Can I eat the whole cake if I want to? Emily asks. Chris stares at her as if she has lost her mind. No. Stephanie wakes up with a smile on her face because it's a lovely morning for her. She visits the washroom before heading to Brody's room to see if he's awake. Just as she expected, Brody is sprawled on his bed, still fast asleep and unconscious of what's going on around him. Stephanie walks up to his bed and is just about to tap him when an idea pops into her head. She exits his room slowly and heads for the kitchen. It's quiet and she doesn't find anyone in the living room and kitchen, so she concludes that her parents haven't come down yet. Once in the kitchen, she gets a glass and fills it with cold water from the fridge. After which she begins the journey back to Brody's room. She knows he wouldn't like what she's about to do, not one bit. Nobody would want someone to wake them up by dumping a glass of cold water on them, especially not in winter. But she doesn't care about the consequences. It's Brody. What's the worst he can do? She tiptoes back into his room and positions the glass of cold water over his head. She does a countdown in her head and tints the glass, causing the water to pour on his face. Brody jolts awake in shock. His eyes zero in on Stephanie when his morning fuzzy brain realizes what has happened. He glares at her menacingly. You're so dead! Before he's out of his bed, Steph is already heading out of his room with a very excited look on her face and an empty glass cup, still in her fuzzy SpongeBob pajamas. She hurries down the stairs, with Brody not far behind, trailing her. She goes around the couches in the living room, trying to avoid him as he keeps trying to catch her. They somehow end up in the kitchen and he still hasn't caught her. She quickly drops the glass cup and keeps running around. Due to the ruckus they're making, the parents head downstairs. What's going on here? Their dad demands. It's Brody. He doesn't want to leave me alone. Steph manages to answer in between breaths and giggles. What did you do? Their mom asks. Nothing. I wouldn't call dousing me with freezing water nothing, Brody comments. Their parents look at each other as if telling the other, look at your children. They shake their heads, smile, and head back upstairs to brush their teeth. The siblings continue their chase and somehow end up on the snow-covered driveway. Stephanie throws the first snowball, and that's how a snowball fight began. After throwing snowballs around for a while, they make a snowman before deciding to get back into the house before freezing their asses off. As they both laugh at each other about playing out in the cold in just their pajamas, Steph's eyes land on the wall clock and her eyes widen. Crap! What is it? I need to get ready. I'm going to see someone, Steph replies. She had planned to be out of the house by now, but she got carried away. And you're late? Not really. The person doesn't know I'm coming. Is it the same? Yes, Steph interrupts him, knowing exactly what he wants to ask. She hurries to her room before he can ask any more questions. After getting ready, she gets what she needs, which includes Chris' present in a gift bag. She finds everyone at the kitchen table about to have breakfast, but she doesn't join them. She'll just have it with Christopher. Going somewhere? Her dad asks. Yeah, I'm going to see someone. It's their birthday today. Can't it wait? You haven't even had breakfast. Her mom comments. No, it can't. Her dad narrows his eyes. Who's this person that you're skipping breakfast for? Is it a boy? Can't talk now. I have to go, Steph announces. Do you need a ride? Brody asks. No, I'm good. Thanks. Enjoy your breakfast. Bye. They all watch her head out before her dad comments. We need to find out who this person is. I'm getting suspicious. Steph stands on the porch of Chris' house with the gift bag in hand. She takes a deep breath and reaches over to press the doorbell. She thinks about something and hides the gift bag behind her before pressing the doorbell. After some seconds, the door opens to reveal Kate, Chris' mom. Stephanie! What a surprise! I'm so glad to see you, Kate says as she hugs her. She notices the gift bag and grins. I see you've brought a present for my baby. Steph nods and looks into the house to check if Chris is near. Can you do me a favor? She whispers. Sure. Can you put this in Chris' room after we leave? Steph pleads. Why don't you want to give it to him yourself? Nothing. Kate narrows her eyes and smirks. Is it something you're embarrassed to give him? Maybe something sexy? She wiggles her eyebrows dramatically. Steph blushes in embarrassment. No. It's nothing like that. I just want to surprise him, that's all. Oh really? Steph groans. Kate laughs. I'm just messing with you. I'll do it. Thanks. Steph hands it to her as Kate lets her in. Where's Emily and Chris? Steph questions after entering. Mom, who was? Emily trails off as she walks into the living room. Emily is just about to scream in excitement, but Steph motions to her not to, so she restricts herself. Emily runs into her arms and hugs her tightly. After pulling away, she asks, You're here because it's Chris' birthday, right? Steph nods. He'll be so happy, Emily comments, and Steph smiles. After chatting with Emily for a moment, Stephanie follows Kate's directions to Chris' room. She knocks twice, but he doesn't answer, so she slowly opens the door. She finds the room empty and takes tentative steps in. The first time she notices is how neat and organized his room is. Even her room isn't as organized as this. He's a neat freak, she muses. Before she can probably focus on the details of his room, she hears a sound and the door to his bathroom opens and Chris walks out. He has a towel tied around his waist and he's using another to dry his hair. Their eyes meet and they both freeze. Chris blinks twice because he believes he's thinking about her too much to the point that he's hallucinating, but she's still standing there. Hazel? He voices out in disbelief. She doesn't answer. She just stares because it's the first time she's seen him shirtless, and damn, he looks hotter right now. His wet hair, exposed abs, and everything possible is contributing to him looking a lot hotter right now. Is it just her, or is it hot in here? Hazel? Chris calls again, and that gets her out of the trance she seemed to be in. I'm just gonna go. I'll wait in the living room, she mutters and hurries out. Steph stops at the top of the stairs. He must have noticed the way you were checking him out. You were probably drooling. Geez, her subconscious says. She tries to compose herself before descending the stairs. Chris watched her walk out of his room before realizing what just happened was real. Hazel was just in his room for real and she practically ran out. Why did she run? Chris wonders as he gets ready. She probably ran because she couldn't stand how hot he looked. Chris chuckles at the thought. He keeps wondering why she's here as he gets ready. He checks his reflection in the mirror more than 3 times before leaving his room. He finds her laughing with Emily in the living room. Hazel, what are you doing here? Why hello to you too, Chris. Steph rolls her eyes. Chris smiles and she does too. We're going somewhere, Steph informs him. We are? Chris asks in bewilderment. Yes, we are. Where? You'll know when we get there. A moment later, they're leaving. Steph enters the driver's seat of Chris' car since she insisted that she must drive. Chris reluctantly gets into the passenger seat and Steph begins to drive.